some point the wound becomes the excuse. The story of what happened to you starts to gain more importance than you. That's a very dangerous moment because we cannot sit and stare at our wounds forever. If you stare at your wounds long enough, you will stay still in your life and you will not see any progress. And I'm sorry to say, but we all have wounds. There's a difference between a reason and an excuse wearing a reason's clothing, because you have to ask yourself, when was the last time you used something that happened to you to explain something that hasn't happened yet? The thing that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge is that wounds give us meaning in friendship groups, in social media, in society, in the right environments, in therapy culture. Wounds give us identity. They give a reason for people to lean into the conversation or whatever it is that you're saying. That acknowledgement is very necessary because it helps you to give you a language to understand what is happening to you, or to understand how to frame whatever situations that you're going through. But these frameworks can become cages if, instead of using them to understand your past, you use them to prevent you from moving towards your future. The wound economy looks like this. As long as the wound can explain everything, the stalled career, the broken relationships, the unlived ambition, you are protected from the more frightening question: what if the wound is no longer the reason why you're standing still and you're not making progress? What if you're healed enough right now and you're still not moving? Therapy culture is something that has created the most sophisticated language when it comes to stagnation, because the person who understands exactly the way they are, if they understand their childhood trauma, personality, attachment style, nervous system breakdown, all of these big words, and they use that sophisticated language to explain why they cannot move yet, that's when the trap happens, because it's also a trap that you create for yourself. They just give you sophisticated language, and then you use this sophisticated language to validate not aggressively moving forward toward whatever it is that you want for yourself. Because the truth is, moving forward is hard work. It's not easy. Because if you have all this self awareness but there's no action, that is the most expensive therapy you're ever going to pay. Because what do you mean? What do you mean? I have all of these dictionary thesauric words in my brain, but I'm still not moving forward in my life. That's crazy. For me, that's crazy, but a lot of people live like that. You can't be funding the understanding of the cage and not gain enough courage to walk out of it. You can't be giving all these therapists money, all these chat GPTs, spending all this time to define this frame, but then you don't do the hard labor of trying to get out of it, trying to no longer let this past define your present. You can never let your past win twice. The first time that whatever thing happened, cool, it happened, but it will never, I tell myself this every time, like, you will never win again over me. I'm telling you, yes, I grew up in a house where we didn't have a lot of money, but that situation is not going to win over me when I am older. Hell no. You had influence over me in my childhood, but I'm not going to let you have influence over me in my adulthood. I refuse. I refuse. You need to tell yourself, I refuse. So in this video, like in any other video that I record, we always acknowledge the wound. I am not saying that the wound is not real. Nothing here is about, hey, get over it, hey, heal faster. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is actually a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm saying you do not need to be 100% healed in order to move forward, in order to build. You don't need to 100% understand the psychological framework, the attachment style, whatever, in order to put one foot in front of the other and try to change your life for the better. And I've read a lot of biographies, okay? I don't know everybody on earth, but with the biographies that I've read, I realized that there's a pattern. Like, every person who's built something meaningful was not 100% healed. They still were carrying something that was a little bit unresolved. Like, you do not have to be this perfect Superman, Superwoman figure in order to be on the podium of whatever it is that you desire. I posted a video about this recently. We need to let go of this addiction to perfection. It does not help. Having the wound, doing the work are not at opposite ends of the spectrum. They can work together, they can be simultaneous. So the question is not whether the wound is real. The question is, which one are you the most organized around? Are you most organized around your wound, or are you most organized around doing the work? And you can do both at the same time. You can For example, start your business and do the healing at the same time. It's if there is a book that I would recommend, it's Viktor Frankl's book. Oh my goodness, that man. Or if you're not into books, watch The Boy in Striped Pajamas to kind of give you context of where his environment comes from. But he was in a concentration camp in one of the most terrible periods in human history. And even then, Viktor Frankl managed to build one of the most sophisticated psychological frameworks in history. He didn't wait to build this framework after he left the concentration camp, right? He did it during the concentration camps, in times where they didn't even have food, in times where they were given rotten fish to eat, in times where people were eating each other. Crazy. Guys, go into Viktor Frankl's Search for Meaning. Read that. It's a big book. But one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from reading that book is that he did not wait for his conditions to be perfect and to improve in order for him to start thinking. If meaning can be found in the damp, gray concentration camp where those people barely ate, barely had any clothes, barely had any heat, barely had any shelter. If he can find meaning in a place that dehumanized him, then the excuses that we start to use when we are sitting in our comfy living rooms start to look very thin. Viktor Frankl is somebody who didn't wait to be fully healed before he found meaning. He built this psychological framework while he was still broken. Because of that, he became one of the most recognizable figures in history. He did that work together. The wound was real, the work was real, and he did both of them at the same time. And this is not inspiration. This is real life. This is the reality of living on earth. We have to do both of those things together. It's the only way that it's ever been done. Life is about contradiction. You will have the great and you will have the friction sometimes at the same time. It is not heaven where it's all hunky dory at the same time. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Grit, endurance is built by playing between the tension of the good and the intense at the same time. Also, we see this in all the beautiful things that are created in this world. When you create a cake, you mix the ingredients, but then you put that thing through heat. When you see a diamond, that thing is put under a lot of pressure. The best things in the world have that duality of beauty and pressure happening at the same time. And you can be that beautiful thing as well. There's a specific transition that happens in the healing journey when you're busy trying to understand what it is that you've been going through. Because on one side, you are still processing, the wound is fresh. When you think about this, it triggers you, you're sad, you're angry. The language that you are learning from the internet, from books, is helping you to understand what it is that, you just been through. And this side, very important. This work, very necessary. This work is real. But then there's the other side where the processing starts now to become a project. And the wound has become the most organized thing in your life. Like, you understand your wound more than you understand your finances, more than you understand your work. It is so organized and so sophisticated. That's when now the wound has become very comfortable in your life and has sat down in the house of your life and has made itself at home. Wound has a role and a job. And remember, this is Earth. This is a school. I don't make the rules. I didn't design this curriculum. Don't be mad at me. All right. I'm just saying, the wounds that enter our lives, yes, they're very uncomfortable. I am not saying that they're not, right? I've already acknowledged that. So let's move forward. Every wound is supposed to leave an insight, leave a lesson that you're supposed to discover. I made a very intense video about this. Go to my old YouTube videos. I broke this down, broke the psychology about it. And a wound is not supposed to sit in the house of your life and chill and become your friend. And you are talking to this wound every day, and both of you are discussing why it is that the environment is against you, or why it is that you can't take certain steps. A wound is supposed to stay for a short period of time. You're supposed to have a conversation with your wound, uncover the insight, the lesson that you're supposed to get from this wound, and the wound needs to go. There is an identity that exists where you do not have to identify and have a relationship with this wound, but you get the valuable lesson out of it. It exists. It is possible. It's like when you're in school and you have exams in grade three, you have to write your exams. Yes, they're tough. You have to pass them and then you move forward to grade four. When you get to grade seven, you're not going to be sitting with the course material that you had in grade three. But the thing is, once the wound becomes very comfortable, it can be very costly to you because they don't hurt you enough to cause forward momentum. They don't hurt you enough to inspire you to get off your ass and do whatever it is that you need to do. They just sit there with you and they explain how everything is not working because they are the reason for everything not happening, right? And meanwhile, outside, life is passing you by. If you like these kind of conversations, please subscribe because this channel that I'm building is not really about motivation. It's about having honest conversations that most people have in private, like the wound economy or sophisticated stagnation that feels like growth. These are all systems that people navigate through without knowing that they exist. And when you navigate in the system long enough, it compounds. And I'm hoping that through you watching this channel, you can start to see it maybe in yourself or in other people. And yeah, it can help the world be a better place. You moving, you taking forward momentum doesn't mean that the wound is resolved. You starting your business, you trying to do whatever it is that you want to do, it doesn't mean that you're healed now. No, it just means that you stopped waiting for the resolution to be a precondition for you taking the first action. And here's how it looks like. The person who had a childhood that builds scarcity responses in them, but opens an investment account anyway, might still be feeling those feelings of anxiety and they're moving despite it. The person who was told by a family member that they're not good enough or that they're not beautiful or that they are ugly, if they take their first step to go jog outside, it doesn't mean that they're fully healed, but they are taking back their life anyway. You can move and be healing at the same time. And sometimes that movement also helps you to shake off some things faster. Once you understand that, you will start to realize that, oh, I am the captain of this thing that is in here that decides my actions, decides how I feel, decides how I'm going to maneuver in this world, decide what I give myself permission to do, decide when I will try again. I am the one who's going to tell myself whether I'm going to try again or not. I'm not going to leave that decision to some wound. I am not going to do that. Movement, taking the next step, taking the first step is a decision that you can take today, regardless of whether you have nervous system deregulation. Listen, sometimes that lesson, it will find you while you're on the way. You might unlock it through a conversation that you're having, through a book that you're reading, while you're still moving. So the real question that this video is asking you is not, oh, are you healed? It is, what are you using this wound for? Because a wound can be used in two different ways. It can be used as fuel. It can be used as the thing that makes you more precise. It can give you a specific sensitivity about the thing that you're building that nobody else can replicate. Everybody who's built something that genuinely has helped people built it from a wound. When people on social media talk about, oh, that's a trauma response, baby, trauma and wounds can birth the most incredible things. Trauma doesn't just birth terrible people and terrible circumstances. It can birth you changing your life for the better, becoming more intelligent, becoming more healthier, becoming more educated, literally doing things and contributing to the world in meaningful ways. The people who build incredible things are not all perfect, healed specimens in society. A lot of them are carrying wounds, and it's because of their wounds that they want to do something about it. Another way that a wound can be used is as a break, as that thing that explains why you haven't built anything yet, why the timing isn't right, why you need a little bit more healing before you're even ready. And the difference here is not the size of the wound, it is the direction that you point your wound towards. The person that you need to become is not the most healed version of yourself. It's a version of yourself that builds while healing. So the wound is real. The acknowledgement was necessary. The language gave you a framework to understand what was going on. And at some point, quietly, that understanding can become the reason why nothing is ever built. The wound does not close, and then life starts to happen. Life opens and then the wound closes in that environment. Don't wait for permission, it's not coming. The only thing that's ever gonna come is a decision that's gonna come from you. And look around your environment, you probably already have everything that you need in order to take the first step. Look at me posting these videos. Do I have a Canon 36X DMRY camera before I post these videos? No, but I have a phone and I'm using my phone. Do not take what you have in your environment and belittle it. The fact that you have internet, the fact that you have two legs, God willing, the fact that you have a voice, the fact that you have the energy to wake up every single morning, you can use that. You have something. You're not Viktor Frankl, who is in a concentration camp, who was not fed for days. He looked like a skeleton. That's how bad he looked. That's how bad it was. Didn't even have a bed, and yet made the most phenomenal, or rather came up with the most phenomenal psychological frameworks in human history in those conditions, during those conditions, not while sitting on a couch having access to YouTube. You genuinely have everything that you need in order to take the next step. Not everything you need to become whole, no, the next step. You have everything that you need in order to move. And I hope you can see that. And the difference between you being able to see that is the difference between you staying where you are and you changing your entire life.